Well, hey guys, I thought we might do something a little bit different on the channel. I don't usually work on my cars, but I do a little 3D printing, so I thought I'd show you this kind of how it is before and how it will be after. I sold my pickup about 2 weeks ago, since I won't be driving back and forth to North Carolina any longer. So I have this 2008 Pontiac Vibe my wife and I will be utilizing quite a bit. I put a new mount up here on the top to hold my Garmin GPS, because this 2008 didn't have anything like that. So now I am going to pull that radio out, because I'm going to mount a backup camera, which this vehicle also does not have, in that location. And I'm going to 3D print a bezel type faceplate piece, because the actual backup cameras, you know, it's not very big. It's probably, I don't know, 4 inches by 3 inches, something like that. So I got to print something so I can hold it in that spot. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing pulled off. I don't know if I can do it and hold the camera at the same time, and I don't have a mount to hold the camera, so I'm just gonna see what we can do. Hopefully I don't tear things up too bad. Alright, I got it out of there. Now I just got to get the plugs unplugged. You guys can see that. Yeah, a bunch of plugs down here. Let's get the plugs off, if all possible. There's one. This isn't easy to do one-handed. There's two. There's three. And I got a fourth one. Maybe I get this fourth one, hopefully. I don't feel the release on it. There it is. If I can get it. There it is. Okay. Alright. I got it off of there. There's what we're left with. And there's what that is. Hopefully I'm not making you guys too dizzy. Alright, so it looks like this radio has a screw here and a hex screw down there, and just the opposite over here, a hex screw here and a screw head there. Probably over the years, well, I know that for a fact. I actually gave this vehicle to my daughter quite a few years ago for her to be driving around, and she wanted an aftermarket stereo in it, and she did it herself. And it looks like when I bought the car back from her, she put it back in and she got her screws reversed apparently. But that's okay. So let me see how tight these are, and if we can get them out. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay, what about the one inside there? Well, that's not bad either. Okay. Yep. Screw fell out. And it's on the magnet, but it just fell on the floor. So, we're going to go back to this one. So this backup camera that I bought is wireless in the fact that it doesn't have to have a wire going to the camera itself. The camera is apparently wireless. And that's the wrong. Let's see, I got this one. Nope. That ain't the right one either. Alright, so I don't have the right wrench out here. Nut driver, that's what that's called. I don't have the right nut driver out here. So let me go get the correct tool and I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and brought the tripod out here, minimized its size and brought it out here. So let's see if we can get this thing out on camera, and that is the right one there, so that's cool. That's good for that. There's that one. Let's see if we can get this one. Alright, that's that one. I'll get my fingers on it and get it out of here without dropping it. Alright. And so this should pull out, at least so far, I would think. Yeah. And of course we have the harness thingy. When I say harness thingy, it's actually a clip that's going into this framework that holds this harness right here. So let's see if I can get this thing to release. I've got a release on each side. I think it's going to go. There it goes. Okay. Now this should unplug or pull out, and then I can unplug it. I hope. I hope. I hope. Yeah. Got an antenna wire on there. I got a release. There it goes. And then I got this plug. I got to release the power plug. There we go. Ah, there we go. It's out. It actually worked fine. The CD player works fine. The radio works fine. But the actual color on these buttons over the years has just been flaking off. And my wife and I never listened to it anyway. The only thing I'll miss is the clock. But that's alright. We don't need it. So, in will go the backup camera. I want to mount there. This like a backup camera will be here. Garmin's going to sit there. So I'll have to figure out with a test with my meter what the which one of these is key switch on, and then I can tie into that wire with one of those quickie thingies. I don't think I actually have a pin that'll fit that, so I'll probably just do one of the quickie thingies and we'll stick that in there. But for now, let's take this down to the workshop and we will take a look at the faceplate that I made for this and modify this so that it can lock in place on it. Okay, I thought I'd show you guys how I came up with the faceplate that I printed off for this Garmin retrofit on the dash of that 2008 Pontiac Vibe. So I went into my Tinkercad program, which I got lots of stuff in here. There's that little capacitor holder that I had made for the farm radio, and there's the battery eliminator lid and battery eliminator box for the battery eliminator I did, as well as a lot of other stuff I got on here. But this is the actual faceplate, so if we click on that and go to tinker this, then we can take a look at it. So basically, I know Doug has shown you guys a lot of this stuff before, and he's definitely much better at it than I am. But you can create whatever you need based on, just like the box is what I start out with. As I start off with a box, and then it lets you select that box and do something with it. If you want to make it rounded around the edges, which is kind of what I did on this one, then you move the radius around and it'll make it rounded. So if you look at this thing block now, which I got it not really where you can see it that well, but we can move it kind of into the forefront so you guys can see it a little bit better. Maybe. Get back on it. There we go. Go back over this way. Now I've got to raise it up because it's in my project right at the moment, and we didn't necessarily want it there, so we'll just kind of raise it up so you guys can see it. But then you just kind of click on your various dimensions. You can put this in millimeters or inches. I typically use millimeters. In this case I used inches, but say we want to make this thing thinner, then we can crunch it down. You can see how much you're crunching it down by over here. This particular faceplate I made 1/4 inch. Maybe I used 3/16 inch, I don't remember. Anyway, but that's how I did it, and then you just resize it, click on there and change your dimension, whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be 5 inches or whatever you want it to be. There you go. Same with the width. And then when you get what you want, then you can grab another one of these. These are actually the items that make holes in stuff. So like if you're gonna make a hole in that, you could do that, and you could split it in 2 pieces doing it that way too. Bring it out a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. I usually make this taller, and I don't know, we just make this smaller. Let's just say 0.5 on this, and then 0.5 the other way. And then you can just kind of push it down into wherever you want your hole to be. You can move it around with your arrows. You got to highlight the piece first, right? So it's highlighted, now I can move it left or right or up or down or however we want to do it. But once you've done that, I'm going to move this away from the project so I don't grab my project. And we'll just make that square hole in there. Like that. And then you just come over here and highlight the thing. And you can either align it in there and put it where you want it, which if we align it, say we want to center it, click it there, center it in the other place, click it there, and then we can put the hole in. We're just going to highlight it again, come up here and group, and now you got a hole in it. Well, in my case a notch, because it obviously didn't have it quite centered. But anyway, you guys get the idea. And then if we want to just delete this thing, we just come over here to the can and throw it away. But that's basically how I made this. Started off with square blocks, made them rectangular, made them the length I wanted them, and as far as the actual bracket itself, I had made some measurements of the actual bezel piece that goes in the car, as well as the actual component itself, the display for the backup alarm. So that's what we got. And then once you have that, then you can export it, which I exported into my Ultimaker Cura program. So here we are in Ultimaker for my Mingda Rock 3 Pro, and I'll just come over here to File, and we'll open Recent. It's going to be this one. Open File, Recent. Wait a second, did I get the right one? We'll go with this one. We'll just go with this one. I'll open it, and there it is. And now once in here, you could resize it if you wanted to. You can rotate it, however you want to do it. But basically, it's just pulling the STL file that I exported from Tinkerhead down. And if you want to see how long it's going to take to print this, then you would hit Slice. And it's going to say 7 hours and 27 minutes. And that's approximately, it actually took a little over 8 to print it. And you can go in and change your settings here to make your infill smaller, more, so you can run this thing solid, or you can run, I ran 20% infill on it, but that's why I made everything as thick as I actually did. And then you can preview this if you want to see how it's going to print. And if you're still on the screen, I think you are, I can come over here and kind of shows you layer by layer how it's going to print this thing out. And I had supports in there, so if I give you a top view straight down, you'd be able to see there it is at the top. And then because you can't print in the air, at some point, like right about here, is where the supports began. Well, they began at the base, but okay, so then if you start at the very beginning, it starts printing all of that out, and then it works its way up. So that's how it works. Anyway, I don't know if that bored you guys to death or what, but that's how I made it. And now let me show it to you. Now I've already slid the device into it. It's still got the protective paper on it, but there's the faceplate. I think it turned out really nice. And the way I measured it, I wanted to be able to slide it in and have it hit a bump stop that would center it, which is what that is, and that these would apply enough tension on it that I could slide it in and it wouldn't move, but I could remove it easily if I want to. So that's what I did. Here's the power wire, and this is an antenna. Which I'm going to play with this antenna. I'm either going to just go straight back in to the receptacle area that the radio was in and see what kind of reception I got, or I may have to bring it straight up and bring it out the top of the bezel, but we'll figure it out. But that's it. It turned out really nice. I was very happy with that. So now what I got to do is get this to fit into the actual bezel itself. So I'll show you what the plan is for that here in a sec. Okay, so here's the bezel, and throughout this bezel there are little raised supports that are in here, and on both sides. Let me back you out just a little bit, might have you too close. And there was one here, a big one here on this side, and another couple big ones over here. And so what I did was I made the faceplate so that it would actually go underneath here, but I would have to make a slot, and the same here and here. And the idea is that I will make the slot, get it down in there, and then mash it down until it pops in underneath these slots. If I can show you what I'm doing here. I just had that, I busted that off. I tried to glue that back on with super glue, but apparently I don't like super glue, so I'm going to have to use something else. Same with that one. That one got a little bit cracked when I pulled it out one-handed. Not fully off like this one is, but I'll have to get those back on. I'll find something that works. So I'm going to notch these, and then we'll get that in there. Okay, so I got this end right here under that tab right there, if you guys are seeing that. That tab right there. And I have cut these down at an angle right here and a notch. So hopefully, if I've got the notch deep enough, I can pop this down in there without breaking something. If I don't, hopefully I won't break something. I'm going to mash it down right here and see if it'll pop in place. And it popped in place. So now I've got this tab and this tab holding this side, and this tab holding this side. Let's see if it's flush at the front. And nice and flush with the front. Perfectly flush with the front. I'm pretty happy with that. It actually turned out real nice. Factory. It looks factory. Yeah. I can pull that protective paper off once I get in the car, and those fingerprints will be gone. Nice. That turned out better than I thought it would. It's definitely flush all the way around. Looks good. Alright, next step is to get it wired up inside to some power and snap back in place. And then we'll take a look at the actual camera mounting and how that all goes together. Okay, so I got the dash back in, and I didn't show you the wiring that I did because ultimately I didn't do any wiring per se. When I got the schematic for the plug for the radio didn't have a switched power to it. It had a power and a ground because the radio itself has a switch in it. I decided that I was just going to go ahead and use the cigarette lighter to power it up for the actual monitor piece, and then the actual camera piece is on the back of the vehicle. I got to tap into the brake light. I've got the Garmin in place. It went in nice. I custom wired that. I actually have a little grommet in my bezel for that, and the wire nice and shortened. It's in there really nice and works really well. There's a cigarette lighter. So this is the plug for the Garmin. What I thought I was going to do is go ahead and wire the Garmin and the backup monitor into the same cigarette lighter harness, but I couldn't do that. And the reason I couldn't do that, that's the one for the Garmin. It actually converts 12 volts to 4.5 volts. Apparently the Garmin runs 4.5 volts. This monitor runs 12. So what I've decided to do is just go ahead and get one of those dual port cigarette lighter ports, and I'll plug the monitor for the backup alarm as well as the Garmin into that one, and then they can both be plugged in. Right now I don't have, down there is the, well, let me grab it. Here is the plug for the backup camera, so I get one of those dual, it'll just plug in there too. But anyway, that's what it looks like from the inside. Now I'll go out and show you the camera. There's the camera. Now because this is a wireless camera monitor setup, it has an antenna, and this is the antenna. I drilled a little hole here, and the antenna's going up through that. And this is the camera, if it turns out very good. But it's all mounted in there pretty good. Let me open the hatch and I'll show you what it looks like from the bottom. So here it is from the bottom. The bracket is screwed to a hole I drilled, and it's got a, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got a hex head sheet metal screw, stainless steel holding it in. I drilled a hole right here, and it's fitted with a grommet. I'm going to actually put a smaller grommet on the wire as well to fit into that grommet, and I'll glue them both together. And I've got the wire running up through there. I haven't actually got the camera itself hooked up electrically yet, and here's the reason why. First of all, I tried to take this panel off, but I can't really take it off without breaking it. Over here I put a screwdriver in there and pry it, and it looks like the whole thing has to slide down, and too much work. So I got this little panel removed, and I can feed my wire. It's probably dark in here, I'm sorry for poor lighting, it's dusk outside, but the wire is fed in here right now. It's about 1 foot long, I can reach it. The other wire that plugs into it, the extension wire, will have to come up through here and up through the frame here, if you can see this, down into this little loom here, which I'll have to pull out, down into the frame here, feed down this rail here. I'll pull this out, and then I'll tap into the tail light wiring once this panel here is out, which only has 4 pieces. Piece of hardware here, here, there, and down there. And once that's out, that piece will come out. I'll pull this piece off right here, so I can get into that better. And we'll feed that that wiring down there. I'll tap it into the backup light circuit, and then it should work. And then I'll bring it back and show that to you. Alright, so I figured I'd show you my backup camera. Now that the install is done, I got the wiring done. I got the wire run exactly through the hatch like I knew I had to. I had to take most of the trim out inside the back of the hatch in order to do it, but I got it done. So let's go ahead and start the car. And so it flashes up the rear marker for a minute if I don't see a signal. And then I'll put it in gear, in reverse, and there it is. It just popped up. See if I can get you a little closer. It's a very crisp, clear picture. I'm very impressed with it. That's the houses across the street in the back of my driveway. So, yeah, it works good. Very happy with it. Hindsight 2020, if I redid this all again, I would have put the Garmin as the built-in and had the backup camera up on the dash up there where the Garmin is. I got the backup camera first. That's what we decided we wanted. I already had everything made, and then I was like, well, we might as well get some type of drive assist for it, so I ordered the Garmin. So I already had my plans together, but anyway, it works pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So put it back in park, camera goes out, no signal, and then it'll go out on its own. So So we'll finish this video here. Like I said, it was just a quickie video, something I don't never usually show you guys. I do a lot of other things other than electronic work on cars and stuff like that too. But anyway, so that's it. Greg's Vintage Workshop. I guess this car is somewhat vintage, 2008. Thanks for watching.